Hi, I'm Vibrine Samuels and welcome back to another episode of Soul Stirring Astrology, where I give you my textured take on the world of astrology. Well, in a few days' time, on May the 10th, there is a full moon that takes place in Scorpio, which means that the sun is in Taurus. So we've got this dichotomy. We've got Taurus being the first house because that's where the sun is, and it's opposing the moon in Scorpio in the 7th house. So you've got this tension between I am and it's Taurus, I am, and I need to create my own niche and what will give me resources to create a firm foundation for my life. So you've got this rolling up your sleeves, bringing to life the ideas that you have that could generate material wealth and financial success. And then you've got this moon, and the moon is in Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto, and it's in the 7th house. And so because it's a full moon, it's a time where you can be reflecting on the emotional issues that arise within your relationships. And one of the things is that actually, have you been seeking a mother or a nurturing figure within your relationships? Now, the moon is forming a sextile to Pluto. So where you've got moon Pluto, it's about identifying, or it might have been brought to your attention, the emotional scripts that you have been using from childhood that still run your life. And so with Pluto and the moon, Pluto wants you to be delving deeply underneath the surface, because what you will find are questions to do with your self-image. How confident are you based upon these emotional scripts coming from your childhood? Or are the emotional scripts undermining who you are? And so therefore you're projecting this sense of wanting to be nurtured and mothered onto your intimate partner. And therefore, is it realistic for that person to be carrying that weight and that burden? So that's what you've got going on here. You've got this tension because on the one hand, there's the sun, and the sun is in Taurus, so it's very practical, very functional. It's about, creating and manifesting something within the world. And also the sun is trining Pluto, and Pluto is in Capricorn. So here it's pointing to, is there an aspect of your core identity that you haven't really got to grips with as yet? And this particular transit is inviting you to do so. It's an aspect of your core identity that needs to be further understood, explored, healed, because you've got Pluto in Capricorn and it's in the 9th house. And so therefore there could be something about your core identity that needs to be restructured in a way that is now being based on firm principles and values. And the reason for this is because the sun is in Taurus, and Taurus is ruled by Venus. And so you have equally Venus playing into this trine between the sun and Pluto. Alongside this, coming back to this Pluto, so we've got Pluto, and Pluto here will be opposing Cancer. And Cancer is the polarity to Capricorn. And so coming back to where the moon's placement is, the moon obviously rules Capricorn, so there's this deep sense of nurturing that needs to take place, this deep sense of being able to unearth those painful things that actually, with Pluto in place, it could be the time where you go for some type of deep psychological analysis or psychotherapy or meditation or some type of counselling that enables you to start picking apart, and like the onion, you're stripping away the layers that gets to your emotional centre. Because with the moon in Scorpio and it's in the 7th house, there's a sense of your emotional security comes from merging and blending with another. But actually, if you've got these negative scripts, these negative emotional scripts that are running your life, you may be placing unrealistic expectations into your relationship, which really makes it unfair for your partner to actually fill that void within yourself. We also have Pluto, and Pluto is sextiling Neptune. So on one level, this is a really beautiful harmonious transit, and it's where you've got your dreams and illusions illusions and your creativity and your spirituality, it's been awakened in some way. There's a sense that you want to transcend your everyday realities. But actually you need to be mindful, because behind the dreams and the illusions, which may be beautiful and they might be calling you to create something beautiful in the world, the converse of that is because you are actually denying your reality, because you're living into this false reality. And so where you've got a false reality, you're not dealing with the true essence of who you are. And so the converse here is that with these dreams and these illusions, they could be unrealistic. And so therefore, with the sextile, but we've got Pluto involved, this is where Pluto could be challenging you to be thinking about these dreams, these illusions, and how realistic are they? Or it's a sense whereby you're now in the position where you can create new values and principles to build your life on. So don't forget, we've got this sun, and the sun is in Taurus. And so it could be about, with these new principles, you've identified a niche in the world that you want to create something that creates value for yourself. That's in terms of financial security, but also it could be of value to other people. But with this sun and the moon, let's say, for example, you have been financially successful, you've got the material things in life and you're feeling very comfortable. But actually, now you're questioning, what did you sacrifice? Because don't forget, we've got Pluto, and Pluto is aspecting both the sun and the moon. So did you sacrifice your personal life, your ideals, your creativity? Which aspect of your personality have you sacrificed in order to bring about the material assets in your world? Because if you have those in your world, with the sun going through Taurus, it's inviting you to look at other aspects of Taurus. And so by examining your values, or what you've sacrificed, for example, gives you another opportunity to widen your dimensions and understanding of who you are. We also have Saturn, and Saturn is squaring Chiron. Here again, it's this sense of limitations and boundaries. And with Saturn, and with this sextile between Pluto and Neptune, it could be Saturn's here wanting to break down these illusions, to give you a sense of reality, to give you a sense of responsibility. Now, when Saturn is coupled, particularly with a square with Chiron, it's an indication of some type of wounding, and the wounding could be, or could have come from, your father figure. And that could be, he could have been quite tyrannical, he could have been quite bullying in your life, and so therefore you might live life in quite a retentive or fearful way. Or it could be that actually during your childhood or through your formative years, you were your own father, and so therefore you could come across as somebody who's older than they actually are. And so with Saturn and Chiron, it's about how do you begin to heal that aspect of you. So therefore you can present yourself, because don't forget, we've got the North Node moving into Leo on the same day as the full moon. And so this full moon is taking place in the context of a fire element, and according to Jung, this is where spontaneity, enthusiasm, and the energy that you emit into the world is really formidable, it's intuitive, it's inspirational, and it's also very self-motivating. So with the North Node in Leo, it's about another way how you can individuate, bring your true self into the world, because the North Node has moved from this sense and the world of Virgo, which is about meaningful service, patience, reflectiveness, into your dynamism. And you can't really act in a very dynamic way if you've been held back by your emotional scripts that are getting in the way, that are causing blockages, or if you're acting or living your life in a really fearful and retentive way because you haven't dealt with the parenting aspect. And that's Saturn here reflecting the father, and with the moon in Scorpio, it's reflecting the mother. So it's very much about this nurturing that's going on. We also have an aspect between Mars and Neptune, and here this sense of insecurity and doubtfulness is also coming to the surface. And what could happen is that you capitulate and you give in, or you cave in to this sense of doubtfulness, but actually you've been invited to evaluate your life. Don't just give in, don't just follow the least line of resistance. Evaluate your life, really pick it apart. You know, we've got elements that are clashing. So we've got the moon in water, it's in Scorpio, so it's a very powerful, could be quite a willful moon in water. We've got the sun, and the sun is earth, very plodding, pedantic, very methodical. And then we've got Pluto, which is in earth, but it's set within a fire element, particularly because we've got the North Node moving into Leo. And so in this full moon and reflecting over what's happened over this last month, you would have felt some level of tension going on. It's sort of like a stopping and starting, moving forward, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. But if you capitulate to this Mars and Neptune, you're never going to balance yourself out. And that's what the Pluto in Capricorn is calling for you to do. How do you begin to balance yourself out so that you own all the aspects of your core identity, that you are realistic in your emotional expectations and responses and behavior, and yet you're able to step out onto the stage with confidence because you've done the hard work working through meaningful service when the North Node was in Virgo. So quite a lot to take on in terms of this full moon that takes place in Scorpio, which brings me to the quote of the day, and it's by Walter Sisulu. And what he said is, life presents problems, but in those problems they always create the conditions for the solutions. And brings me to the question of the day: what emotional turmoil have you experienced and overcome over the last month that enables you to step in onto the stage when the North Node enters Leo? As always, fabulous people, put your comments, questions, queries and answers in the comment box below. I love to connect with you, love to share, love to hear where you are on your journey. Feel free to share this episode with anyone in your network, anyone that you feel could benefit from it. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you again on the next episode. Bye.